I'm Chris Gardner, Houston Roundball Review, and with me is Eddie Nuñez of my alma mater, University of Houston Athletics, VP. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great as well. Thank you for
So,
doing this.
no problem.
This discussion, chat, conversation is centered on. I'm curious your thoughts on with the ruling by Judge Wilkin on the NCAA versus House settlement. Your thoughts initially on that, and then I have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah, I think it, a lot of us that have been going through this process have been prepared for this. We've all known that if it's going to happen, we need to be ready and putting ourselves in the right position, and um, we're excited for it. It's start of a new era for college athletics. We knew it was coming. There's been bits and pieces of it happening already, and from my perspective, it's an exciting new time because if we're ever gonna put athletics in the right position, this is the way. This is part of it. This is a start, but this is part of us trying to get to where we need to be. So I'm excited for it.
Have you, as lead rep for Houston Athletics, has the department, have you determined the percentage of for the payout to the student athletes for the sports?
We're pretty close. I would tell you we're pretty close. Part of it is still understanding all the nuances that again as that got rolled out, the judge did her ruling. As you've seen, things have continually been spun out from the CSC, the new College Sports Commission, and everything else. So what we're trying to do is put all that in perspective. It's not going to be much different than what you've seen at some other institutions with some of the percentages, maybe a little bit more or less. As I said in the beginning, there's going to be more for us on the basketball front than most schools are doing because we want to make sure that we can sustain that. At the same time, making sure that football has everything they need to be successful in this league. So from our perspective, those two are going to be the ones that need to be focused on more than anything else. And then we're going to look at all the other sports that we have and look at the percentages, how they've done for us from the revenue side and where we feel we can be the best we can be in some of these sports.
Has the settlement had any negative impact on Houston Athletics?
No, I really don't. I think we positioned ourselves really in a great place. We knew what was happening, and for us to continue to have the success that we were garnering here, that in every sport, it takes us to make sure that we had a plan in place. And so, honestly, not really at all. I think it's more anticipation, making sure that that the plan that we have laid out gets executed as best as it can. It's not going to be perfect. We know that. Everybody's going through this. We're trying to figure out the nuances, and but the one thing I know is for certain that this is the right path for college athletics. It might not be the perfect path. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be other iterations or changes or things coming down the line. But this is the right path, and for us, we have to embrace this. And that's where I think when you hear coaches and administrators and everybody out there talking and trying to pull the negative or the what ifs with the unknown of what's about to happen. The reality is we have to embrace this. We have to try to live within the parameters that are given to us if this is really going to have a chance to be successful.
So is it safe? Can I ask you?
I don't know if it's safe, but I'm
well,
gonna
yeah, I'll ask you, and you answer it how you can answer it.
Go for it.
Any danger of any sports being cut?
No. Look, I can't speak for 10, 15, 20 years down the line.
Right, sure.
But I can tell you right now, every plan, everything that we've looked at has none of that being considered. We feel we can be competitive with the sports we have, with the number of sports we have. Is this process going to make us look at things differently? Absolutely. And that's how we do business, how we conduct ourselves here. From a business side, we are pretty nimble when it comes to our budget. We're not as grand as some others. So we've been able to really refine those areas. We still have to build a lot of revenue and grow our department. But within that, we're able to do things with our programs because we've lived under a certain umbrella for much longer than others. And so that we have to use it to our advantage. Like it or not, we're going to use it to our advantage. And as we keep growing, we will continue to put ourselves in a position where we grow with this instead of growing against it. Because I think there's a lot of people that are fighting it and they're realizing their budgets have probably exceeded much more than they should, and they're finding ways to cut back now. But we're not in that position. We're actually on the opposite end, going and trying to grow, but grow the right way.
When does Houston when is that going to affect for receiving a full share of media rights from Big 12?
It will be starting July 1st. So
Okay.
it'll be this year, this upcoming year.
How beneficial will that be for athletics, getting more money than Houston has had from a conference, ever?
Well, I'll tell you, even what we're getting today is more than what we've had
Okay.
in the American, which is it's a positive. And so for us to be able to get that full membership revenue, that's going to be immense, because again, we're going into a new era when we're talking about Rev-share, and where schools are trying to cut back so that they can have enough money on the revenue to be able to distribute. We are able to do a little bit more because we're getting new money coming in that's going to allow us to utilize it in the right places. And so, again, it goes back to taking advantage of our situation. Nothing's ever perfect, but if we can find a way to make this the best and find a way that this is going to allow us to grow, then and that's what we're doing. So you would ask me this a year ago or two, if Rev-share wasn't on the table, I would have said I'm extremely excited about the new revenue coming in, because we probably had an endless number of things we want to do, from new facilities to this. Well, the fact is now what we're doing is kind of shrinking that wish list to a point where we're saying it's really for NIL and putting in the right places so we could keep growing our department. And that's the areas like mental health. That's the areas like nutrition. That's the operating budgets. Those things that really put back for our student athletes.
In addition to the increased revenue from the Big 12, how are you doing, or how is athletics doing in terms of other streams for revenue?
We had a extremely successful year in certain aspects, and I say that cautiously because it's not across the board. When you look at actuals of budgets compared to what was budgeted before the year, we exceeded a lot of areas, which is great on the revenue side. Even football, we exceeded what we had budgeted for. But the fact is, we're still below what we did a year ago. But when people say, well, why were you below a year ago? Well, you start thinking about, we had Texas here a year ago.
Right.
And that's a huge influx of money for just that game alone. So when you start kind of sifting through all the different numbers in our budget, we were very, honestly, excited to see some of the numbers that we did with merchandising, licensing. Our new multimedia rights is going to allow us to have an influx of money for the next several years. It's also allowing us to infuse some money early into our department. When you think about the numbers of what basketball did in their run, to have after getting all the numbers and having a $6.1 billion add value back to this institution. When you think about it, when someone says, well, how much would it have cost you to get all that advertisement, all the stuff that you got out there? I mean, these are companies that do this nationally. So this is not Eddie here on the back in his office saying,
right, gotcha.
This is a number. No, this is companies that work with national leaders, our conference and others, to tabulate these numbers. To know that it was 6.1 billion, to know that in all our social media platforms, we grew by 50 thousand or 50,000 new followers. And you talk about all those different pieces, the viewerships, the engagements and everything else. It trickles all the way down to the university. And people say, well, how does this help the university? Well, we knew the Doug Flutie back in the days, how they said enrollment at Boston College blew up after that game. Well, we've already seen our numbers here grow since the Final Four till today. They've had highs in enrollment applications, inquiries about the institution. And so all that is positive, because even if we can't add any more students, if that was the challenge, the reality is we're also lifting up and elevating the standards of each of those kids that are now applying. You're probably getting better quality. You're also looking at all those different things. So great successes across the board. I'm excited, but we've had since the end of the Final Four, we probably had 40 or 50 new donors at a significant level. And it's been probably something since I arrived here of new members, and I say that, or new donors, and I say that because it's not just buying tickets. These are people that are actually making donations and doing it at a level that is helpful for this department. So we're trying to go out there and beat the doors down of everybody and trying to get new companies, and show people what kind of benefit the University of Houston truly is for the city and this institution.
Will this season's football have another game for the Houston Blue?
I would tell you absolutely. We are in the process of trying to work all those magical items out to try to figure out the jersey, the look, the game, the how do we roll it out appropriately. The one thing we recognized, because, and I've had this conversation, rolling out the blue this year, when we put the emphasis in to do it right, and you had all our partners out there selling it, and it's still one of the greater sales items that we have right now is anything that's Houston Blue. We have to find a way to not I don't want to say maximize, because there's just a lot of ways we can do this, but let's just say we've got to do our best to generate the most we can from some of those different areas, and the Houston Blue is one of those. So we are looking at all sports again as an opportunity. And for some reason, if it doesn't come to fruition, we will know sooner or later. But that's what we're trying to do right now.
You've made a few new coaching hires in the last few months. Your first impressions on how those coaches are doing thus far?
Excited. The energy level is a whole different. Nothing again. They're bringing energy. They're bringing an attitude, a willingness to want to see this department grow across the board. It's not just in their own individual sports. When you talk about raising the standards, it's raising the standard of the student athletes, how hard they work, what they come to the table, the engagement with the community. I think one thing that I've noticed is, even from a women's basketball side, Matthew Mitchell, he loves the social media somehow, some way, even if it's him talking. But that's good because he's informing our fans. He's informing our prospective student athletes, anybody that's out there, and saying, look, this is how we do it. This is what we're doing. So you're seeing a lot more of that. Women's soccer he's done a great job. But he's going back and reteaching different things that he wanted to focus on a different way. Softball, we got a brand new coach was here in the office this week, and she's excited about the potential. And people always ask me all the time, what are some of the things that you look for? And I want somebody who has a tremendous appetite for the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And everyone that we interviewed, there were some ones that you look on paper and they might have more accolades, more accomplishments. But the reality is, are they good people, high character? Have they won at a high level? And do they have that appetite for this opportunity? Because that to me is important. This is a special place, and you can't take it lightly. So, yeah, we're excited, man. It's three new coaches. Somebody asked me the other day, said, "Do you like making changes?" And I said, "No." I said, "I really don't." I said, "You're onboarding new people, getting them to make sure that they get to know the students, the community, and so it's a lot. Now, it's necessary. As much as I don't like it, it is necessary. So when those times come and we have to do it, we do it. But I'm okay to take a break until the next time I have to do it again."
A few more questions with you, Mr. Eddie Nuñez.
Bring it.
It's mid-June. How are season ticket sales going for football?
Really good, actually. I don't have the number in front of me. I would have told you. I would have had that. I'll have to text you that later. Okay. The actual number. I apologize. I had it. We met yesterday in our my senior staff meeting, and they told me, but with everything else going on, it went over my head. But I'll get it for you. Both football and basketball are trending in the direction that we expect at this time of year. Somebody was talking to the president about this yesterday, and she asked me, she said, "How are ticket sales and everything else going?" And I think you got to remember, when I arrived here last year, it was basically mid-August. Mm-hmm. And at that point, most of your season ticket sales for football are pretty much done. You're right. Now at that point, you're doing single game tickets, ticket packages, And so we really weren't able to take full advantage, or at least put a vision that was what I was hoping to get out of this for this year. We also didn't have a ticket sales force. When I arrived here, that same week that I was hired, they hired the director of ticket sales for us. So we didn't even have a sales force for ticket sales. So we're much further advanced than we were last year at this point. But we still got to keep, the pedal on the metal. We got to keep grinding, figuring out how to put more butts in the stadium. A lot of that will come with wins. And when people see the product that Willie's putting out, we know what basketball does. We know what Coach Sampson has done. And now having the ability to sell, season tickets to women's basketball, that's something Matthew Mitchell wanted to do. And we want to do it, but we want to do it with the right emphasis. And so we're going to have new things in the horizon. But right now, when you look at season tickets sales for both men's, women's basketball, football, everything's trending in the right direction.
Going back a little bit, explain to the folks who are watching this, ultimately, the College Sports Commission.
Ooh, I don't know if I can explain it.
As best you can.
Yeah. So the College Sports Commission was created as a group, an independent group that can assist this new era that we're embarking upon. The NCAA, redefining what the NCAA does, was part of this, letting them focus on certain championships and certain aspects that they do well, the NCAA, taking a lot of the minutia that was getting stuck, the enforcement, the management, and now since we're dealing with cap management as well as NIL Go, which is, again, figuring out if all the NIL deals are actually per market rate and everything else, all that had to go into a new group. The NCAA couldn't inherit this because they didn't have the means, or at least the correct staffing to be able to do this. And look, for what it's worth, did they have the ability, the reputation that people would have said, look, we believe this is going to work if the NCAA they understand this. They understood that they were better in these areas and they needed to focus to make the NCAA great is to focus on what they do really well. So the CSC was created to be able to adhere to all those different challenges and new paths that we got in front of us today, which honestly, it's what we needed. We need somebody that's going to allow us to do what needs to be done. And we, as I said in the beginning, as administrators, as ADs, as presidents, if we're gonna be successful with the new era of college athletics, we all better buy in and understand that this is all of us in this together, the Power Four and anybody else who goes into the settlement.
I want to say this, and I'm coming from an alum perspective, not necessarily a media person, little combo. With Rev-share, with the new money coming from the new media rights deal, the full share, that is not to say there's not a need for the collective. I'm going to say Lincoln Cougs, so that is still important, correct?
Yeah, and that's part of the dynamics of us trying to figure out how do we make this work to the best of our abilities. The way Lincoln Cougs or any of those other collectives out there are operating today are going to be challenged because the new rules are student athletes are basically taking these in. They are finding some of these NIL opportunities on their own or through their channels. So Lincoln Cougs, Link U, those organizations are still going to be associated with us especially for the foreseeable future. Because the reality is we still have situations that we're working with them to make sure our student athletes are doing their part on some of the deals they already have in place. So as we move forward, the biggest thing is being we can't just continue with the way we've been doing it. And they'll tell you this themselves. We need them. They need us for us to be successful. We all have to be in this together. And so they have been very creative in business-to-business deals that they're working on. And to be able to push more opportunities back to our student athletes through NIL. So that business to business component that they have really navigated really well is where we need to work with them to make sure that we get every opportunity for our student athletes to be successful. That's in all sports, not just basketball, football. That's in the baseballs, golf, tennis, everything. And so, listen, they've done. I can't we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for them. They are a big part of the success that we have had, especially in the world of basketball. We couldn't have the recruiting classes that we do for all our sports, baseball, football, everybody included, if they didn't do their part. Was it easy? No. It was a huge lift. But a credit and testament goes back to Austin and all those guys. Everything they do every day. Landon does a phenomenal job for them, and we're appreciative of everything they do.
A few weeks ago, you put out a statement regarding baseball and Coach Whitting coming back for another season. That was kind of rare. Did you? I guess obviously you felt it was necessary to make a public statement on it, but what was the thought process with that?
The process. So, as you know, as I told everybody, at the end of the year is when I typically evaluate a coach, unless something is really troubling with the program, the way there's something within the dynamics, the whole day-to-day situation with the student athletes, then I allow the season to progress up to the end because I want to see how they manage. Remember, when I meet with coaches in the beginning of the year, they give me a plan, and I evaluate that throughout the whole season. And that's not just wins and losses. That's how they do things, the community impact, the recruiting, how their coaches work with the student athletes, how they work in academics, all those different areas. So as we came to this year, unfortunately, we had Big 12 meetings right after the season finished, and I was in Orlando and didn't have the opportunity. And there was a large outcry in both ways, and people were, I think, feeling like they needed to voice their opinion. And so I just thought it was the right thing to do so that everybody understands. Coach and I have sat down. We've had a conversation. And he understands more than anybody else what the expectations are for this program, not just mine, but what is expected of this program. And so was more than anything else is letting everyone know, look, we're moving forward. And no, it's not a jab at him personally. We both have expectations. I hope people have expectations, and we need to be held accountable. And so and that was really more than anything else is, hey, I'm here to support him. I'm here to support our team. I believe that the plan that he has put out is going to give us a chance. Now the question is going to be, if he executes that plan the way that he presented it and the way he feels like it can, then we're moving in the right direction. If not, then we'll cross that bridge when the time comes. And I don't sugarcoat it. It is what it is. He knows my expectations. I know what he wants to do, and it's a matter of getting to a place where we all feel we've achieved something. So more than anything else, it was my way to tell our fans, I hear everybody, but the reality is I need everybody now to support these kids. If we're going to have any success, right or wrong, stop the negativity and support these kids. If for whatever reason, if the only thing they can get out of my letter is come out and support our student athletes, those baseball, because they're playing their tails off every day. Come out there and support them. They need you.
Final minutes with you.
Yep.
Your impressions of the Big 12. I mean, was this your first Big 12 meetings, spring meetings? Tech starting over in August.
Yep. So this was. I tell you this. I've been in 3 other leagues now, and I'll tell you this was it was a special spring meeting because I think it was the first time as administrators, because we had head football coaches there, head women's basketball, men's basketball, and FAR, a president. So it was a robust group that was there. I will tell you, after every one of those meetings, I truly felt like we were aligned. Like, this is all of us together, and you want to say if we're fighting the fight, or we're carrying the Big 12 flags, strongly. This is where the first time I truly felt like I get it. We're all in this together, because I think in the beginning people are still trying to figure themselves out. Hey, even us, we're sitting in the room and people are looking at us. Well, maybe somebody in the back of their mind's thinking, well, you guys only a half share member. How do you want to look at it? We're still a full member, but we're only getting half the money.
Mhm.
But it's pretty awesome to sit in that room and know that you're carrying that flag for this conference when it comes to basketball. Football did their part on the first year for a coach, which 4 wins is pretty dang good for him, especially what he inherited. I know he's going to do even much better than that in the future. And you look across and you say, well, we're not just part of this group. We're competitive, and our voice is being heard. So I appreciate my counterparts at every school. I really do. I've learned a lot. Many of them are actually friends and that I've known for years, and we've kind of come up the business together. So to be able to bounce ideas and thoughts during this new challenge of this new world of college athletics that we're in was good. But the alignment was the strongest thing that I would take from it. It was to see everybody on the same page, pushing in the same direction, knowing that we are going to be one of the best conferences if we just stay the course.
Last thing with you today,
Mm-hmm.
your checklist. I think you make a checklist, of goals for every season. Do you have like one or two things specifically you would like to see for 25-26 season?
Wow, I've got a lot of them, unfortunately. Yeah, I live off checklists. If you look at my dry erase board, you'd probably be scared right now because it has everything from donor targets to companies to just everything, wins and losses and everything else. So I would tell you 3 focuses for me. Of course, continue to elevate all our programs. I really feel like we have the ability this year to make a strong presence in this league. We got new coaches, but we don't know. That's the unknown. That's the excitement. We have football, where I'm very excited for. So that whole check of being able to do more for our teams and being able to see the success is going to be 1. 2, I would tell you, get in the community continue to build on these partnerships. We've had more doors open up, more businesses that have wanted to get involved with us because of those numbers that I expressed to you earlier with the NCAA, what we're doing, how we're doing business. We got great coaches, great success. So continuing to open that door as much as I can to get more companies in here and showing them that, again, we're not the University of Houston, we're the University for Houston as well. So everything we can do for this city, we're all in. And then lastly is growing all our revenues. And I know that's a big target for the president and everybody else. If I do all 3 of those, and revenues, there's 10 or 15 different pots in there, however you want to look at it. But if I do all 3 of those, the one thing is elevating the mission of this university to be a top 50 caliber institution. We can do that as well. If we do everything we can, it will help our campus elevate its standards. It'll help us elevate it. And at whole, people will continue to look at the University of Houston as a destination institution, as a place to go, much more than they ever have. So, I have a lot of checklists, but those 3, it's community partnerships, growing revenue, and trying to find a way to put our student athletes and our coaches in the best place to be successful.
Eddie Nuñez, thank you as always for taking time to speak to me. And as you know, and I am not ashamed to say it, I'm proud to say it on all my shows and all the platforms. I am a proud graduate of the University of Houston, and I want to see all the sports shine. And I will do whatever I can, use my platform, be a megaphone to, excel the virtues of my school and my team. So thank you as always, Eddie, for taking time to talk to me. Appreciate it.
Chris, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing, and let me know if we could help anytime.
I will. You take care, sir.
Thank you.